Hi guys, I haven't done a video in a while, so I'm just doing some kind of simple work on my Packard today. So this is my beautiful big giant Thunderbolt. What is this? 288, I think they have these 288s. Yeah, 288 Thunderbolt Packard engine, straight 8. Changing the fuel pump because basically I was trying to troubleshoot the fuel pump or fuel issue. I'm not getting any fuel at the carb, so simple troubleshooting. You just disconnect this line right here. Turn the car over several times, no gas coming. I know there's gas in it. I just put 5 gallons into it. I have never taken the tank off this thing, so another part of that troubleshooting was like, is a sock, in the tank clogged up, whatever. I've been driving this car all summer, so I don't think that's an issue. Maybe my pump just failed, but we're going to figure that out. But anyways, took this line off, of course, just turn it over. I use my the old the starter stick here just so I can do it from under the hood. No pressure coming out. Went to go start troubleshooting this fuel pump, see if I can figure out what the problem is. I was going to take some lines off and check pressures and see if I can feel any suction. And lo and behold, let's see if I can get a good picture of that. That busted up black line down there, that is the fuel supply line, and I just busted it, just trying to take it apart. It is old, it is brittle, it is destroyed. It's not, I barely touched it and the thing just fell to pieces. So what I'm going to try to do is to pull the whole fuel pump up now, because basically that line's going to come off and be replaced. I know from past endeavors, it's just easier just to pull the pump off. Trying to get back up underneath here with your hands and your elbows and the big giant hands and fingers that I have, it just ain't going to happen to get that line off by itself. So I'll pull the whole fuel pump off, and that's part of my troubleshooting too. I mean, maybe that the fuel pump is bad. I can check all that, make sure it's good, make sure these are getting good fittings. But anyways, the Packard has this wonderful little heat shield here. Let's fix my light here so you can kind of see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I only got 2 hands, which I had 3. This wonderful like heat shield thing that's right here. I can't even tell where that's bolted at. So that's just over top of the pump. Usually you can get to these pumps really, really easily. Here, I'll show you on my Hudson how easy it is to get to these pumps usually. Right next door to it here. I mean, got a blanket over top of it. Bam, it's right there. Really easy to get to. Heck, it might even be the same fuel pump setup. Maybe, we'll see. Anyways, really super easy to get to. Look, I can get my hands in here. I can touch all the things I want to touch. I can undo the lines I want to undo, blah, 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 blah. That's really nice and easy to get to. But, of course, this is a 51 Hudson. My 54 Packard, not so much with that heat shield. So I want to have fun getting that to it. I did notice, too, I don't know if I can get this on video. These have safety wire bolts. I've already busted the wire off of them. If you look really closely, you'll see there's holes in the head of the bolt. I've already broke the safety wires off and some wires hanging there. So I'm an aircraft mechanic by trade, and that's what we do in aircraft engines all the time. We safety wire bolts because of the vibration of the aircraft engines. Bolts tend to wiggle loose, so we safety wire them. Interesting to see that that's what Packard did with these bolts as well. Now, we'll see if I actually take the time to safety wire it back up again when I replace it. But, yeah, so you might see this, come across this. I've never seen it on any of my old cars. I didn't know they even did this on car engines. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So, well, I'm going to fight with this for a while. Probably cut some hands and fingers and bleed all over the place. And then maybe I'll get it off and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Oh, I didn't realize the camera was upside down. My fault. My bad. You can see a little bit of it that way. There it is. All right. All right, so here it is. Fuel pump, pretty basic kind of fuel pump. Had a hard time getting the supply line off. Of course, it turns, but getting the line to turn inside the B-nut here is always a problem. They always rust free, so I'll have to keep just soaking that and working on that so I don't have to replace this whole line, even though it wouldn't be that hard to replace, I guess. It's just a pretty straight line. But so here's these pumps. So they have a vacuum assist on these. You might wonder what the heck this thing up here is with these little lines. So these are vacuum lines. One of these goes to the wiper motor, and one of them goes to the intake manifold. I'm not sure. I'm thinking just build pressure from the one, so you have and then the pump also builds pressure in here that helps with the wipers. It doesn't work on this pump, so I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about the fuel pump part of it. And here, of course, here's that line, how terribly crispy and crunchy. And I watch this, it's just going to break off into pieces. It's garbage. So this is why it's easy just to pump off. You've got 2 bolts, right? And then you got this fitting off here. This thing's pretty gnarly. Haven't really done much troubleshooting on it yet. Some things I look for, you know, is the arm there? Is the arm intact? Yep, it's there. So the way these work, you guys aren't familiar, is that these just run on the camshaft. Cam turns. There's a lobe here. Moves this arm, creates pressure in the pump, so on and so forth. So, well, this is like a little slider deal. It's a little different. But yeah, I mean, it seems to be there. It seems to be functioning. Sometimes a spring will pop out of here and that won't work right. But there's not really any way for me to test this that I know of on the bench other than just seeing if it's all intact. So I'm going to take a look at it. So what happens a lot of times, these diaphragms here will go bad. So maybe I'll pull that apart and see if that's toast. Maybe clean up a little bit before I put it back on again. But I was never really able to test it on the car because this line went bad so bad. It just started breaking. It just broke loose and broke. So I'll probably replace this with a hard line because there's no way in the world I'm going to find that rubber line somewhere for this year Packard. It just ain't going to happen. So I'll probably just jimmy together some kind of a homemade line to make that work, and then we'll do some troubleshooting and figure out what this thing looks like. But yeah, who knows what this who makes this thing. I mean, sometimes these things cross over to Chevys or GMs or Fords. I'm not seeing any. Well, there's some markings right there. It's hard to say what that is, but anyways, I'll do some research, and then we'll see where we get on that. Because like I said, it definitely was having a fuel problem. I don't know if it's back in the tank getting up to this point or what it was, but I'll let you guys know when I come and find out. All right, so this is what I found. Towards the part. Usually it's this I don't know, you want to call it a bladder or a seal or whatever that goes bad. This plunger. The spring seems fine, but if you look really close, you see it's pretty worn. The actual area where it does the pumping, right? It creates the suction right around this ring. I'm not that sure that's bad enough to make it not work. Hard to say. It is pretty worn. I've pulled a couple of these apart before, and they don't really. That's kind of normal wear to me, but it also, when you plunge it in, you see some cracks that don't look great. So, fun stuff. So, anyways, if you guys have these pumps, like I said, they have the vacuum on top for the wipers, and it comes from the intake as well. This is kind of different. I've never seen these little slidey dudes on the arms. It's a little different setup that I haven't seen before. But going to the manual, these are the M2049S Carter, which looks like that's pretty much what I had on every model. So that makes it easy. Quick Google search and eBay search. There's none of these out there. Some places advertise having the rebuild kits. I made a few phone calls with no luck yet. So I'm going to continue to kind of go through this and clean it up. I actually have some old fuel pumps from my Hudson, but they don't have this doodad on the end of it. I know that for a fact. So I don't know. I'll have to take a look at that. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. I took this apart. Like I said, I'm not sure this is bad enough for it to not work, but it's definitely worn out pretty bad. So maybe it was worth getting it fixed regardless, and then see if that's my fuel problem or not. All right, moving on. All right, so I got the pump all cleaned up, obviously, here. I got new and old parts sitting side by side. I got this pump rebuild kit from Then and Now. Yeah, just then-now.com. They're the only ones online that I found that actually had the rebuild kit for this thing. They did a pretty good job. Don't try calling them. Don't try getting a hold of them. It sounds like they're pretty busy. I just ordered it online. I got a confirmation of the shipping maybe 3 or 4 days later, and then 3 or 4 days later, show up in the mail. All right, so pretty good stuff. It looks to be almost identical in every way. All the pieces and parts. There's gonna be some assembly here. The freeze plugs here. I probably won't even bother taking those out because my freeze plugs look pretty good, so I'm not probably gonna bother with that. But anyways, looks like a complete kit. Looks like everything you're gonna need: springs, gaskets, this is a rubber gasket. The only thing I thought that might not be in is there's a little screen here, and you can see this is just torched. It used to sit right in this little, right in here in this area where the magic happens. So I'm not sure how important that is, but that did not come in the kit. So that's about the only thing I saw in the kit that didn't come. Everything else looks in really good shape, really good condition, really well built, nothing cheapy. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get this thing together and see what it does. The cool thing is they said they also have YouTube videos on how to do all this stuff. So I'm gonna check that out too. See if there's actually a video that shows how this exact pump goes together, because that would be helpful. since I've never done this before, this exact pump, and let you know how it goes. All right, so I'm going to try to show you guys a little bit how I'm doing this. There is nothing on YouTube for this particular pump, so I want to see what the pump numbers are at. I don't know how well I can see this or not. You look at the flange of the block, and where's my camera at? I don't know if you can read it on there. It's very, very faint. This is an M2049S Carter. I already have it apart and cleaned up. Like I said, these parts coming from then and now. So part of it is it has these little check valves in this body right here. I think this is the output part of it. So I have one valve I've taken out and one valve that's still in there. So the way these come out of here is that if you flip it on the right side, you can see that there's a little bit of this little thing in the middle here is just a press in here. So what I did is just took a drift and a hammer and just kind of banged them out of there. So this one went in this spot right here. So they come out pretty easy. It's pretty simple design. And it looks like the rebuild kit has these rubber diaphragms and the springs that are supposed to be in here. So even though mine look pretty good, they're like pretty pliable and stuff still, I'm going to go ahead and change those out. So I'll do that part of it here, and I'll show you what that looks like. But just kind of I had to look through some different videos to figure that part out. These are just pressed out of here. So I want to replace the diaphragms and springs in these, and then show you what else I do next. So something I found in this that isn't part of the rebuild kit. So in the main body here, there's this little like U-shaped piece that's in here. It's just pressed in here with a couple like little divots, so it's not in there very well. It's easy to pry out. What there is like a breather hole. You can kind of see right through it here, and there's this little piece of like breather material. I mean, it's like Brillo pad or whatever that's put in there with a retaining clip. This is not part of the rebuild kit. This is clogged absolutely full, so it's not breathing at all. So I'm going to try. Oh, let's see. I mean, this is absolutely solid. So I know what it's in there for. It's for breathe. It's to have some air come in, but have it come in slowly and be filtered. So maybe I'll try a Brillo pad or something along those lines. Something that's still constrictive but not wide open. But this is absolutely chock full of gunk. So this is not going to be any good. So that's something that's not in the rebuild kit, I noticed. So just for your information. All right. So I'm going to have to do some things here. So this little screen I was talking about before, that it went right here on this spot right here. I'm not really sure the purpose of it. Maybe it's just a little bit of a filter. But there's nothing, I don't have anything like this. This is like a really, really thin, brittle screen. So I'm just going to leave it out. I did put a fuel filter in the line already. So hopefully that little screen right there will be replaced by a filter. And what I did is it has a nice rubber gasket here. This is the one that came out of it. Obviously, this one's friggin' toast. This wasn't doing anything anymore. So I'm replacing that with this nice rubber one. Pretty simple. Just put the piece that was here back on again. That's what it looks like. So obviously you got the let's see if I remember correctly. I believe this is the input, and then this is, yeah, actually it says right there on the housing. It says in right here, and then I bet it says out over here on this somewhere. Yep, it says out right there, out. So input, output, pretty easy. Nice new gasket. That should work out a little bit better. Oh, now my screwdriver. I'm not sure if that piece was screwing up my focus here or not, but so the bottom piece is all set. Input, output, put back on, new rubber gasket. I put all 3 new check valve gaskets and springs in these pieces right here. Those all came in the kit. Now the top here, this is for the vacuum for the wipers. Even says manifold. This is wipers labeled on the thing. I paint them red just so you can see it. I can see them a little bit better when it comes time. I am not going to pull these frost or freeze plugs out of here and replace these valves. The valves that I took out of this other piece look pretty good. They weren't worn. The springs look pretty in good shape. In fact, I'll show them to you. I mean, this is these are the little valves, this little piece of rubber that were on here. This is the spring that was in there. The spring doesn't seem to press really badly. These don't seem worn out. They're still pliable. They're still flexible. I replaced them because I had them, so I'm not going to worry about those. And I'm just weird about pulling out freeze plugs when they're fine. The kit did come with new ones. I got new ones in the kit, but I just know that you start pulling these things out and drilling holes and trying to pop them out of there, because there's no way of really banging them out from inside. You can get these valves out, but the valves only come out one way, right? So this valve has to be pounded that way to come out. This one has to be pounded up this way to come out. So either way, I gotta drill holes, pull these freeze plugs out. I'm not gonna do that. So like I said, hopefully these valves are still good. These freeze plugs look like they're doing a good job. Yeah, so I'm not gonna mess with this. And honestly, this is just for the wipers anyways. This car, the wipers are the least of my issues with it. So you know what? Let me show you my car actually. Now I think about it, because it's a beaut. Well, that's me. I don't want me. There's my car. There's a 54 Clipper. Now she looks good right from this distance, but she's got some rust issues. She's got some body issues with her. I've already actually sold this car to somebody. It's a friend of mine and my son's. So as you can see, it's got some rust issues. It's not a great shaped car as far as that goes. Electronically or mechanically, it's fantastic. It runs great. It stops. I replace all the cylinders to make sure it stops well. The interior is in good shape, I think. So it's a fun little car. I'm just trying to get it back on the road again. So the guy who bought it for me has a running car when I give it to him. But yeah, the wipers working isn't a real top priority for me right now. If he wants to mess with the vacuum lines and making sure all this apparatus still works, that's up to him. But excuse me, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about getting this pump working again. So I know that I'm fixing the best part I can. He's going to have to deal with all the vacuum lines and all the other apparatus to see if those things actually work. All right, so I see a little bit of a problem with this kit. So this is the old bladder. What they have me do is so you can see there's a stud, there's a couple washers and a retainer on each side. What they give you is a piece of rubber with 2 plates. All right, they're each of different sizes, which doesn't really make that big of a difference, I don't think. But it is a little bit different size, and they are a little bit different size than the one that's in here. Actually, it's pretty close to the same thing, but shaped a little bit differently. And this, as you can see, has a washer on this side of it and a washer on this side, with actually like 2 little washers. But this is more of a rivet style, where you're giving you a rebuild kit with a washer and a paper washer. So I think I'm going to get another washer to go on here that fits this edge right here, so that when it goes in here, you know, you have it metal on metal here, where the old one has like a metal on washer. You can see the difference. You know what? It probably doesn't really make that much of a difference, honestly. But it also comes with this little O-ring kind of thing here. It's metal with a rubber inside. I have no idea what this is for. So nothing like this is currently on the old pump, or came off the old pump. So I'm just going to guess this is for something of a different kit. So I'm not going to mess with that. So moving on, we'll get this old. This is the old bladder here. We'll get this rebuilt and see what it looks like. Okay, so here we go. We got the old bladder here, or the old diaphragm here. Here's a new diaphragm. Everything looks to be on the up and up, so we're going to put that in. Here's also the old diaphragm for the other part of the pump, and here's a new one. Like I said, it looks like they're pretty good quality parts. They look very similar size. They should bolt up pretty easily. So my trick is going to be that I have to get of course, the lever arm, the little teeth in this bad boy on this spring when I put that in, but that shouldn't be too big of a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and get one part of it put back together again, and then we'll see how it looks. So keep going here. So I'm sorry, I screwed up. This little rubber washer here with the metal thing on it, and it goes right there. So I'll be replacing that. So I want to show you real quick what I did. So the original pin in these arms were, I don't know the rivets right were, but they were pressed in here. So what I had to do, I had to drill out the old one, and I should have showed you before coming the kit. The kit came with a new pin that fit in here perfectly, and then of course you got to put the spring back in. There's a nub on the housing, and then there's a little pin on the arm to show you what it should look like when it's in there properly. Now the movement of this, once you get the pin in there, isn't very much. Make sure you get the slot under this arm to fit into the pin that's on this diaphragm right here. So the spring will bring it in here, and then it'll bolt up like this. So there's a lot of extra parts. I know what these springs and diaphragms go to. They go to the other valve. This is the O-ring that went into that one thing. So these aren't really extra. I just didn't use these as springs. These little brass guides, I'm not sure what those are. This pin right here, this Carter pin, I'm guessing this was for the pin that went into the arm here, but I didn't put that in there because I just feel like that's going to come out of there the way it is. It's the pressure of the pin and having the plunger on it. This pin's not going to go anywhere. But I believe that's what that was for. Excuse me. These little brass guides here. Excuse me. I have no idea what those go to. There's nothing like that on this pump. Again, I'm hoping that's just for something other application that has the same part number. But I didn't use those. So out of all this kit, the things that came with, these springs and these diaphragms, I didn't reuse those. But these brass guides and these springs here, I don't know what those go to. They did not go to this application, and I'm not really sure what this little thing right here is. Maybe it's just a cap to go into where the pin goes for the arm, like right here or something. That kind of makes sense, but you know what? I might actually put that in there. Now I think about it. Yeah, that's what I kind of had to drill out for the other ones. So yeah, I'll put that back in there, and then we'll move on. We're pretty much almost done with this pump rebuild after I get this housing back on it. So my idiot self forgot to record something after I put the thing together before I put it in the car, but it's in the car. Like I said, it's pretty easy once you get those little minute details put together. It's 2 bolts. I still have to do the safety wire on them. I went ahead and slaved in a fuel filter in this system. In this Packard, there's a big heat shield that's kind of in the way. It's not too big of a deal. Just kind of have to scrape the fingers up and bleed a little bit and do all that good stuff that we do when we work on these old cars. But it went in pretty easy. I could put some fuel pumps in before where you kind of have to work the arm to be just right on the camshaft, but this one went in pretty easy without much fuss. As you can see, the fuel filter is full of fuel, and it's pumping just fine. My problem now is that my accelerator pump went out. So I'll be doing maybe another video on the carburetor. Thanks, guys.